We're going to talk today about the fire element. If you haven't listened to the elements podcast I put out a couple weeks ago or a couple episodes ago, whenever this lands, then maybe start there. Otherwise, this could still resonate. We also talked about water already. Today, talking about fire element. And when we talk about the elements according to Ayurveda, I'm going to give you the energetics. We're going to talk about the balance, imbalances, but then we're going to give you the secondary energetic or subtle body, where that element lives. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about more of how to balance that, essentially. So Agni is our inner flame that helps digestion, metabolism, and transformation. Fire does that already. Agni is the word we use for our internal powerhouse for that. Agni, more importantly, we start with digestion because the first thing we can do is control what we eat. So if we eat foods that dampen our digestion, then that's going to lower our Agni or throw our Agni off balance. If our inner fire is off, then the rest of the systems are going to be off. I've already explained this, but each element sort of is dependent on each other. The reason we start with Agni is, again, it's the quickest we can access because we can take nutrition as the focal point. The second thing we look at is your emotional processing, and that will be through different practices more in the yogic realm or prana realm. So fire element is transformation, metabolism, but more importantly, it also is your courage, your confidence, your willpower, and also your discipline, which this is where Ayurveda and yoga get really in depth. Well, I don't even want to confuse you all, but we have another fire, tapas, and we have tejas, two other fires that live in the body, or energetics of fire, I should say. So the willpower discipline is tapas. That's one type of fire, physical. We go through that in physical asana to stay in our edge, right? To find our edge in our practice. But then we don't want to over push ourselves. And then tejas, which is our inner radiance, which is light. So light is fire as well. This is also important because we're in winter season where I am. I'm trying to align everything with the seasons because that's what Ayurveda is. So fire in nature is the sun. In winter here where I am, we have darker days, colder nights, longer nights per se. So we mirror what happens in nature. So if nature, the fire is dampening, then we need to find practices to keep our own inner fire ignited. So if you've been feeling low motivation, sluggish, emotional, heaviness, brain fog, self-doubt, just tightness in the body, especially the lower belly, low back, or you're just craving comfort food, as we always do, then in the winter months, then this episode's going to be great. We're going to also touch, as always, a little bit on modern science just to give you that logical access as well. So let's begin. In Ayurveda, fire determines how alive, how aligned, and how confident you feel. And I've already talked about so many ways we do that, Agni being the strongest. It shapes everything within us, and it's because it's not just our physical digestion, but again, how are we processing? How are we releasing? And are the transformations necessary in our body actually optimized? Meaning, are we able to metabolize? Is nutrition being absorbed? Is energy production output, input? How is that ratio? Is your body trying to store energy because you're using too much of it? Hormonal imbalance is a big part when we talk about Agni. If you have a hormonal imbalance, we would start with Agni. It would be one of the main factors. Detoxifying, so ama, toxins in the body. We have them. We all do. A lot of us are eating foods that aren't foods, and again, we might try to do everything right, but we're surrounded by toxins. So Agni helps us process that. Immunity, right? If things aren't being processed, immunity, it takes a big hit. And then the subtleness is, are you disciplined enough to go for your goals, or do you have the willpower, or are you confident? These are really important things to ask yourself. There's the subtle channels, the energetics, the embodiment, and the emotional side. When Agni is strong, not only can you eat anything you want, not saying you should, but when your Agni is strong, your body's optimized. All systems online, check, check, check. You're also feeling good. You feel warm, you feel energized, you feel disciplined, you're going after your goals, you're you're just confident. You're a balanced, energized, grounded being. When it is weak or erratic, this is mainly physical disease. You'll start to see, you can see bloating, indigestion, heaviness, low mood, sleep, anything. Just think of sluggishness. If you're not processing, all the stuff that's getting stuck in you can cause a lot of havoc to the whole system, right? So Agni helps us digest life, not just food. It's not just the physical, but we do start with food. So food is a big step we start with because you can. It's the easiest to access. You know that if your Agni is slow and low, we would avoid, that means the fire is dampened. That means the heat is dampened. That means you can't burn off or metabolize toxins or waste in the body. So we would know, a very quick example I give all the time is we would skip the iced coffee and we would drink something warm. Even better, depending on your dosha, we would add spices, cinnamon, clove, cardamom, turmeric, black pepper, things to help ignite your inner fire. So in winter in general, it's 99% of us are not going to get that optimization. It's cold, it's damp, it's heavy, so it naturally weakens us. The sun gives us a lot of internal energy. So we have to be mindful of this when we make decisions for nutrition, especially in colder months. There is 4 types of Agni. Strong Agni is Sama. Sama means balanced in Sanskrit. So that just means clear, digestion's good, mental energy's good, stable mood, fire is balanced. This is what we want. It's not what we get all the time, but it's what we want. Manda Agni is slow digestion. So this means sluggish metabolism, heaviness, slow digestion, meaning you're not releasing physically, mentally, and emotionally. So you're going to feel that a lot in the winter months, but it's going to come up in fogginess, more rest, which we do need, but it's, you'll feel it, right? Slow, dampened, not able to move. We've got irregular, which is Vishama, and this is more like a Vata disorder, so bloating, constipation one day, up and down, and that one I find, it is related more in the Vata sense because it's a mental. So our mental afflictions, our ups and downs in our minds, our flightiness in the mind will affect the digestion directly. We know this, right? You know this when you're anxious, you're stressed, you might go one way, bloated, dry, or you might go the opposite, which is an overactive Agni, Tikshna Agni, which is higher fire element. So that means if you're more inflamed, more irritable, more active, overactive digestion, and you can see this physically and how things get released, but you'll see it in the mental state, you'll see rashes, things will come through the surface. Think of this as too much fire. So tending to your own flame is really a personalized practice. I can give ideas. If you stuck with me in some of these episodes, now you know the basics of Ayurveda. We use opposites to balance. If one of these resonates with you, if you have slow digestion, we would add spice. If you have too much spice, we would add cool. And I don't mean ice drinks, I mean cooling herbs and spices, because nature has the energetics for us to intake. So when we go into more of the subtle body, I know I'm jumping ahead here really quickly, but I want to get through this episode and not be rambling. So going into the subtle body, we're talking more of the psychology, the psychopsychology of yoga. When we talk about inner fire, this is your willpower, your discipline, your confidence, and this is the solar plexus. So solar plexus lives somewhere around here, or for those just listening, I forget that it's video and audio. Our solar plexus is above the navel, and you're going to feel it. Sometimes it's very insightful because in some yoga practices you can feel the warmth. It's really interesting, but essentially it's like your inner sun. So it's really responsible for your self-esteem, your identity, your ego. So over egotistic can live here, but it's your personal power of transformation. So if you're someone that has a goal, but you're not able to get there, you don't have the motivation to get there, then this is what we'd work on from an energetic perspective, but we could also look at our digestion and say, hey, let's start here and see if that helps move things. So when fire dims, you will doubt yourself, but when fire ignites, you'll be on top of it. You'll remember who you are. You'll feel very powerful. You'll be able to take action. So we know the gut-brain connection, but your nervous system as well. So if we start working on that, and modern science is just talking about it, it's so funny. The gut-brain axis, this is 5,000-year-old science and wisdom, and now science is telling us this. But truly, what you feed yourself is what your body is going to experience. So low digestive fire is low neurotransmitter production, and that's why a sluggish gut is a sluggish mood. Like, your gut tells you everything, and that's that fun expression, I have a gut feeling. Well, what does that mean? A gut feeling, your gut doesn't have feeling, it does. And when you turn into it, you'll be able to be a little bit more intuitive and insightful. So we know that winter can make you feel more heavy, more powerful, less decisive even, because when we start to slow down, the mind slows down, the digestion slows down, we try to preserve energy. So even thinking and making simple decisions might feel like, I don't know, what are we gonna do today? I don't know, right? So tending to your Agni is not just physical, but it's truly your emotional empowerment. Okay, going into a little bit of the science, a little bit of more logic brain for you. Your gut controls up to 95% of your serotonin. So serotonin, of course, happy moods. When digestion is slow, serotonin drops and our mood dips. So let's just pause there for a second, because what makes us happy is sometimes not the best food. We crave chocolate, sweets, carbs, and that gives us a quick serotonin boost. That's because if you're getting those cravings, our serotonin's low, and you'll have a quick rise and a big dip. So it's really important to go into that, maybe another episode, keep plugging in, but you can also do your own research if hormones are new to you, understanding that. Cold weather slows down circulation. So when circulation is slow, this reduces enzyme activity. Slower metabolism equals heaviness and fatigue, right? So the two go hand in hand. Circulation slows down when we pause. We need to keep moving, and that could even be a breath practice. And maybe, just maybe at the end of this practice, I'll give you an Agni intro that doesn't involve a meal. Just stay tuned. But cold weather slows down circulation, so it's important. Fascia stiffens in cold. So fascia is that interconnected web that keeps everything together. It has nerve endings. It is the interweb connector. It holds emotions. It stores everything within yourself of who you are as a being. So it needs movement. If you have colder weather, it stiffens and dries. We need to hydrate that because otherwise your lymph is slow, PMS and PMDD will start to rise, slower metabolism. We already know all the things I've already discussed, but fascia needs to be moving in all directions. So full body movement is actually optimal in winter. Winter increases kapha qualities, so this isn't really science, but kapha is the earth and water element, like I already talked about, and those are the heaviest and densest energies. Fire is the uplifter, so just before we get to air and space, fire rises. When we're in earth and water, we're heavy and dense, we need to move it in through here. So like I said, sluggishness down here, eating crap, having no movement, fascia is dry, it's cold. We need to bring warmth into that fire element to start to push things through. Your body's not failing, it's a response intelligently really to what's happening in nature and the season. All right, so I've already talked a little bit here, but warmth over cold, just favor that. That is how you start to really tap into your Agni. We want to get a fire in the belly, so we stoke that with specific herbs like ginger, cardamom, black pepper, cinnamon, clove, cumin, fennel. Even though it's kind of cooling, it's a digestive herb, so that's good. But we want to find ways to spice things up, okay? Stoking emotional fire actually looks differently. This is more of creative output. So in the winter when you're slow and low, yes, we might tend to watch more movies and shows, but can you find something creative? Because creativity fires up our Agni, our inner fire. Breath work, specific ones, self-expression, or even challenges. So if you are nervous to public speak, you might join a little group to start learning how to public speak. A little challenge can give that fire because it's igniting something from a dull state to a heightened state. We also talked about the elements in the manifestation podcast, and I was talking about how the densest energy is the last, which is your 3D, but you need the fire, you need to actually change in order for it to shift. So funny how it all goes together. Winter movement looks different. So earth and fire flows are what I tend to stick to, but standing more, twisting more, warming breath. Again, it depends on your dosha. Pilates is great. Anything core related is going to be good, but you do want uplifting movement. So as much as yin is such a favorable practice or restorative in the winter months because they're cozier and you're melting and you're opening the fascia, you can also add more of the dynamic flows if you're into yoga or some type of class setting. And also, just a side note, fire element, the energetic of fire is really social as well. So if you are someone that feels that lack of motivation and you want to get into movement, maybe a group class would be great for that. Finding classes where you can connect with others that have sort of the same intention, right? And also more fun classes. So for me, that would look like Zumba, a hip class, a boxing class. Again, all tailored to what suits you and your constitution. And then the subtleness of practicing your Agni every day is boundaries, saying no, taking a look at your boundaries, getting confident in who you are, what you will accept, what you won't accept, and just understanding your limit. Don't overextend yourself as well, because that burns out your inner fire. Okay, this is a quick episode because I would love for you to actually take more of the movement practices on my YouTube as the ritual and as the experience to understand your Agni. But let's tune into that last ritual, or the ritual for this practice, as our last thing to speak about. So Agni can be ignited through the breath. And I just want to do a disclaimer. I'm going to give a really subtle breath that's energizing, but Kapalabhati is sort of the inspiration here. Kapalabhati is a dynamic, gentle cleansing breath, but not everyone can do it. So this one's a little more safer and accessible. So let's get into it. When you're ready, get into a seated position, close down the eyes. Let all the air out of your system. Begin to inhale through the nose, and then gently a short exhale through the mouth with a ha sound. So ha. And let's go a little quicker. In through the nose. Ha. And release. Just notice your energy floating through the belly, maybe into the chest. Feeling the center of you rise. And then when you're ready, open the eyes. Welcome back. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. If you have questions, drop them below. Don't forget to subscribe if this is on YouTube, or go meet us there and flow with us. Take some of the classes, feel your Agni, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much.